Traders leverage tech and innovation to drive their sustainability agenda and work towards a net zero carbon future. So how can they minimize the costs involved and maximize the value created in this drive towards a more sustainable future? Who are the partners and what resources can they tap on? Our esteemed speakers in the next panel will talk about their first-hand experience. But first, Haoliang Xu at the Bureau for Policy and Program Support from the UNDP will share his innovation story with us.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm William Chen from NTU, so it's a great pleasure to be here. And with me, we have two representatives from the prominent global traders. One is Barbara from Dole and Abhishek from RGE. So as you may know, the Dole is actually quite familiar to Singapore consumers with bananas in the supermarket and also the pineapples. Whereas RGE, maybe not everyone knows about their business, but they are very famous for the palm oil business and also they are the largest paper manufacturer in the Southeast Asia. So as we can see that with these increasing changes in the external conditions like climate change and also ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, increasingly we see a need to sort of tighten the food system and from all the way from upstream farming side down to consumer end. So sustainability is very much on everybody's mind. Today, we'd like to discuss with two distinguished speakers about how the big boys, the big trading companies are actually taking this sustainability through the innovation and technology adoption into their business. So maybe we'll start with Barbara.
Thank you, Prof. Chen. Happy to be here. I'm Barbara Guépillon. I'm the head of Dole Venture. And my role primarily is to help Dole to collaborate with startups and external partners to deliver on its transformation agenda. And in this agenda, we do have a big part on sustainability, but I can say that it really starts with our purpose, which is delivering nutrition for all. And in order to deliver up to our promise or purpose, we have 6 promises, 3 extremely linked to climate change and sustainability. The first Dole promise we have is bringing nutrition to 1 billion people. The second is around zero food waste and loss. Then we have zero added sugar in all our products. Zero plastic in our entire supply chain, and zero carbon footprint by 2030, finishing by delivering value to all our stakeholders. So we are living this promise every day, and we recognize that we need to leverage technology. We will need to leverage innovation, and we're doing so by working with external partners from startups, R&D department, other corporates. And I think it's a long journey ahead of us, and we're looking forward to meet more of these partners here in Switch.
Very good. So actually sustainability is rather broad. So maybe we can hear from Abhishek about RGE's perspective.
Sure. Thank you, Prof. Chen. So for us, we at RGE, we are a global natural resources and energy player. We have several companies which are managed by the RGE management. A couple of those companies operate in the space of palm oil, which is, of course, a food necessity and a food commodity. And we do have companies which also operate in pulp and paper, which is our second line of business. And our third line of business is rayon, which is natural fiber for manufacture of clothing. So between these 3 major so-called lines of businesses that we have, they are very heavy in plantations. And like what we say within the organization is by growing these plantations in a sustainable form, we take carbon dioxide and water and we convert that to oxygen, and products that we use in our daily lives. So for example, I think we all know palm oil is in pretty much every consumer product, from chocolate to shampoos to even creams and medication. Now, in terms of sustainability, of course, we are all very well aware that the land space is not growing, and therefore we want to make sure that the land usage is optimal and sustainable, so that all these products, which are in a way commodity products and therefore very high consumption, they leave the minimum possible carbon footprint. So each one of our companies has made a commitment of the 2030 sustainability agenda. So for pulp and paper, it's under April 2030. Our pulp and paper company is April flagship company. So it's under April 2030 agenda. For rayon, it's under SATRI 2030 agenda, and for palm oil, it's under Apical 2030 agenda. So each one of our companies is absolutely committed to providing and meeting the goals of our sustainability agenda by 2030.
Excellent. So within there is a sustainability ecosystem. So how do the big company actually select partners to drive this sustainability implementation? Also, what are the available resources that you can tap on?
The ecosystem is very big. The sustainability agenda, I think it's still building up. It's going to be a journey for everyone. What we have decided to do is to launch the Sunshine for All Fund, which is for us a way to speak about the different topics that we're trying to solve and address through innovation on our sustainability agenda. The Sunshine for All Fund has been launched in February 2021. And the objective is to facilitate collaboration between startups, entrepreneurs, and actually any other partner from the ecosystem who wants to help us to tackle those issues, from reducing waste, from improving energy consumptions. It's pretty broad, like you mentioned, but it's really about collaboration. And I think what is important is being able to speak out and to say what do you need, what are the briefs, what are the problem statements or the challenges that we are willing to solve. They will grow. It's an always-on opportunity for us to tap into that ecosystem. Globally, from Singapore, we're being headquartered here in Singapore. Our plantation are in the Philippines, in Thailand, in Sri Lanka. So we are looking at partners from all around the world, and it can happen anytime. So it's sunshineforall.com.
Yeah. What about RGE's perspective?
So for us, I think we engage with industry partners, and we engage with a variety of industry partners. So whether it is in the space of artificial intelligence or blockchain, I think we've launched several initiatives for different lines of businesses. Just to give a couple of examples. So for example, on our pulp and paper plantation side, we use GIS systems and satellite images to really figure out what is the optimal use of a land parcel, right? So we make sure that there's no wastage of land and absolutely optimum usage of maximum productivity per hectare of land. In the same way, on the palm oil side, for example, a couple of years back, one of our flagship companies, Apical, launched in partnership with some industry collaborators a blockchain initiative for sustainable traceability of palm oil, right from the plantation all the way to the point of consumption. So I think for us, we are engaging with a lot of industry partners to deliver on these so-called sustainability solutions. And it's a mixed bag. So from really large corporates, established players, all the way to some startups as well. For example, in our rayon business, we launched Follow Our Fiber, which is a blockchain-based traceability system. This was done in partnership with one of the local startups here in Singapore.
Well, very good. So another thing we'd like to discuss is Singapore, as we know, is really a vibrant trading hub. And besides that, we also have a lot of innovative ideas and mechanism to generate the new innovation to sort of help in this sustainability journey. So I wonder whether the big company, do you have actually experience working with the local solution providers? What is your experience like? For example, sometimes you may have a problem statement, but the solution may be already there in the Singapore ecosystem. So how would you think that tapping on this solution provider will help you to move even faster in the journey of enhancing sustainability?
Sure. So I think Singapore in this region is really a think tank, and it does provide the right ecosystem for a lot of variety of, especially technology providers to flourish. Right from startups at NTU or even Block 71, all the way to established MNCs like Microsoft, SAP, all having their regional headquarters here. I think Singapore is really ideally positioned to provide that so-called foundation for us to explore new ideas. Now, of course, we are obviously a global organization. We operate in many large countries of the world. But having said that, we always need a location for us to use as a launch pad, as a test bed. And I think that's where Singapore, given the nature of support we get from both the government as well as the academic world here, forms a very ideal location to come up with new innovative ideas, to do pilots and experimentations before you scale it out on an industry scale to perhaps our plantations in either Indonesia or Brazil. So like I mentioned earlier, Follow Our Fiber was done with a local startup here in Singapore. Even the blockchain initiative called sustainalliance.org, it was launched right here in Singapore, and it was done in partnership with all our customers and our partners. So in that sense, Singapore really being a global hub and a regional hub provides that right framework for us to launch any new initiative with respect to technology and sustainability.
Yeah, Barbara?
Yeah, I mean, Abhishek said it all, but I think being a launchpad is it's very important. I've been working with startups and collaborating between startups and corporate for the last 7-8 years. And yes, I'm going to say it, Singapore is small, but Singapore is a safe environment for corporates to collaborate between themselves, among themselves, with startups. And also Singapore has proven that they are able to attract startups here in Singapore. So I think it's important to recognize that Singapore is in the center of a very big market in Asia, and everything, despite the recent 2 years, but usually everything is open and everybody can travel, and I think it's the right environment for startups to come establish themselves here, but also develop their own business in the region. Overall, we have to know that it is a long journey for everyone to develop the right partnerships between startups and corporate. So as long as you define what success looks like for both of the partners and you understand what a win-win relationship can be, you can collaborate together from anywhere.
Excellent. I think this is really a very good perspective on the companies. But I think from Singapore's perspective, there will be a new platform, to facilitate the connection between solution providers and the companies which have problem statement, not necessarily about urban farming, the food technology thing, but also beyond that, across the entire agri-food value chain. So this would actually help companies sort of maximize the resources instead of reinventing the wheel every time you have a new problem statement, because the problem solution may already be around. Yeah. And touching on the next point, I'd like to sort of hear from you how you see across this very broad spectrum of sustainability, how the big company can actually tap on their strength and collaborate across this value chain.
I think there is no unique model to develop those partnerships, and RGE here with Abhishek is a very good model. The way we innovate is slightly different, but it can also be complementary. So we have to recognize as a big organization that we have the strength of our scale. So when we want to run a pilot, we have the possibility to scale it pretty easily, which is a great opportunity to make impact. But we have to ensure that we accept to fail forward and take some risk. And big corporations can take risk. We have the means to try new things and to embark our entire organization on that journey. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big supporter of corporate collaborating on any subject, whether it's innovation or sustainability or both.
Yeah, I think I'll just add to that. For sustainability, specifically when it comes to food commodities, collaboration is very critical. I'll take an example again from what we are pursuing. Now, for us as one of the largest producers of palm oil out of Indonesia, we kind of initiated this effort of Sustain, which was to launch a blockchain network of traceability for sustainable palm oil. But as you can imagine, it is only going to become very successful if it has widespread industry acceptance and industry collaboration, right? Because if on the blockchain there are only a very limited number of companies which are providing the traceability information for their particular product, it is not going to be hugely successful. And therefore, for it to be really successful, that kind of industry collaboration becomes very critical. And this is just at palm oil level. If you scale it up from a consumer perspective, and you look at how, for example, chocolate is manufactured or how, say, cookies are manufactured, then you add additional ingredients into the equation, whether it is with respect to flour, whether it is with respect to sugar, and where is that sugar and flour coming from? What is the sustainability information with respect to that? So in that context, without having that collaboration across the food supply chain, across the different ecosystem players, we will always fall short of the expectations of the end consumer. So to us, I think we are quite aware that collaboration is very critical, which is why Sustain Alliance is open to any palm oil manufacturer. It is not branded in our company's branding. In fact, we have our customers there, we have our partners there. And we urge all the customers and partners and the ecosystem players of palm oil to come together to make it as successful as possible.
Very good. So the key actually is collaboration. So we can see that the local education sector, we have actually all the professors have developed a lot of innovations, but may or may not be actually converted into technology that has been used in the field. So I think through this collaboration between the solution provider and big company like yourselves, there will be a lot of synergy to sort of move this sustainability agenda forward. Along the way, we can also grow some of the startups and SMEs to transform their business model, and then everybody benefits. So really create this win-win situation across the entire agri-food value chain, and in the process enhance regional food security, including the Singapore's food security. So maybe I would like to hear from you that based on your experience leveraging the technology innovation in driving your sustainability journey, would you maybe share some of the 3 top tips with the audience so that the other companies can also do as successfully as yourself?
I used to say that you need to acknowledge that technology outside of your organization is moving faster and that you need to collaborate with startups. But actually, this is not really anymore the question. Everybody knows that, and everybody is starting to do it in a very different way. And I think if I can give few tips is, first of all, like I said, there is no unique way of innovating and working with external partners. Each company needs to build its own model. But I think it's also important that we start measuring our effort, whether we're talking about sustainability or innovation. We measure what we treasure. So if you develop pilots, you need to measure with startups, entrepreneurs, you need to develop the impact of those pilots. You need to ensure that they can scale across the organization. But if you are looking at your sustainability effort, it also starts with measuring where you are today, what is your baseline, and do everything you can to improve. But the last tip would be, let's try not to perfect the plan and start working today towards those goals. You will never have the perfect solution that will deliver immediate impact, and you need to accept that. You need to learn on the way and adapt your strategy as you are progressing.
Yeah, I think just to add to what Barbara said, from our side, I think the 3 additional points which we can offer is, first and foremost, I think we are now encouraging all our companies to practice stewardship leadership. So it's not just about kind of governance and control and management, but actually something like sustainability needs to be understood by everybody, and all our plantation need to be managed in a stewardship form of manner, right? So I think that's the first and foremost thing that we are trying to encourage all our leaders to think and practice, which is stewardship leadership. And based on that, we define our vision very clearly. So for example, for our April business, which is in pulp and paper, we've defined the April 2030 goals and agenda for sustainability. Defining that vision then brings to the next part, which is translating it into action. So short-term execution versus things which will obviously take more time. Short-term execution is around pilots, around low-hanging fruits. I think there's plenty of AI technology, blockchain technology, which we can use today to do some very quick wins and demonstrate value of applying digital technologies to sustainability and in turn converting that to business value. But then it has to be in the line with long-term execution, but because some things just take time, right? So for example, that brings me to the third point, which is industry collaboration. Industry collaboration is not done overnight. And if we are going to be really talking about sustainability from an end consumer perspective, from our overall contribution to the carbon footprint, including supply chain and our suppliers and partners, it has to be the ecosystem, it has to be that collaboration. So to me, I think the 3 critical points which we need to look at is, firstly, stewardship leadership, secondly is execution, and third one is collaboration.
Excellent. So I think with this, more or less we are at the end of this panel session, but we have just received some of the questions from the audience. One of them asks, how can startups or SMEs get the opportunity to work with big companies like Dole and RGE? I will share my answer later, but I'd like to hear from them.
I mean, for Dole, you can definitely go on the sunshineforall.com website. But in general, when you want to work with a big company, you can start by identifying if they have a team like is helping the collaboration between outside and inside world. So it can be a head of venture. In Unilever, you have Unilever Foundry. I mean, each of the corporates have different model. So you need to identify those potential champions of yours. And of course, you also need to identify corporates who are speaking openly about the brief and the challenge they're trying to solve.
Nice.
I think for us, we don't have so-called a formal venture capital or a so-called incubation group looking after engagement with the startups yet, although that's in the pipeline. What I would say at this moment is, I think in today's day and age, it's very easy to network with people. If you want to work with people at RGE, I think most of us are present on LinkedIn. And just drop us a line. I think our corporate website has our contacts as well. So just drop us a line. I think we are quite open to working with startups as well. We are not formally actively soliciting ideas from startups at this point, but if the startup feels that we can be an ideal customer for them, I think we really welcome that kind of so-called initiative.
Yeah. But I'd just like to share that actually we are setting up one new initiative platform at NTU supported by government agency, actually to facilitate this connection between innovators and big companies. And along the way, sometimes the solution provided by, developed by the university may not be part of the core business of the big companies, and the big company may not be willing to put in capital investment to start a new production line. This is where we see that the golden opportunity for startup and the SMEs to join in, take up the innovation, scale it up, and then meet the demand for the big company. Because in this process, they know there's a market demand, so it's a win-win situation for everyone. I think this more news will be announced later this month.
Thank you.
So with this, maybe I would like to hear a very short parting word from each of you.
So I think, Professor, congratulations for that initiative which you are launching. And we look forward to that. And hopefully we can engage more actively with the startups using that as a platform.
Yes, yes.
Yes, definitely looking forward to it. And thank you for having us here.
Yeah, we are happy that both DOE and RGE are already a founding member of the new platform. So more partnership to come, and then a more fruitful journey together on the sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Chen, and our speakers for sharing your perspectives with us today. And now, let's take a look at the UNDP's Innovation Insights journey.
Hello, I'm Gandhar Desai. I'm an analyst with the Sustainable and Digital Agriculture team at the UNDP Global Center for Technology, Innovation and Sustainability.